Hey, business building warrior, I've got a treat for you today. From time to time, well, actually, about once a week or so, I like to go live in the Facebook group and invite any of the members who'd like to join me onto like a Zoom session where we can see each other and interact with each other on the screen. If you want to join us for one of these, by the way, typically I do it on Monday evenings around 5 p.m. Eastern Time. That's 5 o'clock p.m. New York time. Most weeks, not every week, but this time I recorded the session. We don't record all of them, but we did this time. And we may do this a few times in the future as well if this is something that we get some feedback from you saying you enjoy. So let me set this up a little bit and you can decide if this is an episode for you. We ask all of the members of our community, we got about 72,000 people in our Facebook group, to bring any questions they have to a live Zoom hangout where the topic is typically revolving around growing your business in e-commerce and on Amazon. So we get all kinds of interesting questions, and you can see from the description today some of the questions that were tackled during the discussion time. A lot of times, these Monday night meetings are a way for us to greet the newest members of our community. So you'll see some questions in there that kind of cater to the newer sellers who are trying to establish a business on Amazon. But just so you know, if this is one of your first episodes you've ever listened to of our podcast, my name is Jim. I'm the host most of the time on this show. We have some other great coaches who host as well from time to time. But this show has about 500 episodes or more of success story interviews with the students of ours who are taking the Proven Amazon course. That's what this community is about. That's what this show is about, helping you launch a great business using a course that's called, I'll give you the name again, it's the Proven Amazon course. You can find details on that course at provenamazoncourse.com. So most of the episodes of this podcast are interviews with the students who are succeeding with that course. But we like to have some other content as well. You guys have requested it, where we dive in and answer those questions. So in an open microphone setting, we captured some of the best questions from the community hanging out, and I gave answers, and you never know what interesting questions might pop up. And again, if you want to join us live, the best way to get in on this is to get into our Facebook group. There's a link at silentjimdotcom. You can get into our free Facebook group. There's also a link there to our Proven Amazon course, and you can hear all of our past podcast episodes by going there as well. A lot of our episodes only are found in audio format, and there's a link there. You can get on iTunes or Spotify or your favorite podcast listening app, and you can hear all those great interviews with our successful students. Something else we're very proud of, that free Facebook group I mentioned, you can jump into it and see for yourself. We have 1,700 tagged success posts from students using our Amazon training to build beautiful businesses. Many of those people go on to be guests on our show. But today, it's an open microphone. It's me with the community hanging out, answering questions. And like I said, if you enjoy this, please let us know. We'll do more of this kind of thing. And plan to join us some Monday, 5 p.m. Eastern. Get into our Facebook group and look for the announcements. We'd love to have you join us live. We can interact. And I'd love to answer your questions as well. I've been doing e-commerce for 20 years as the only income for my family. There's 7 of us. We homeschooled and raised 5 kids. They're getting married and moving out and getting older at this point. But the 20-year experiment was a wild success. We're so excited and happy to see how things have turned out for our kids, for our business, for our family, for the relationships. We love entrepreneurship and homeschooling under one roof. That's how we did life for 20 plus years. And it's been so rewarding. We want that for as many people that want that for themselves as well. So we hit on some of those kind of topics on these discussions as well. You never know what you're going to get. But like I said, look at the description, see if there's some interesting topics there for you today that we're going to dive into. And thanks for listening to Silent Sales Machine Radio. Let's get over into the Q&A session with the other listeners. Let me just do a quick intro, a couple minutes here, maybe take me 3 to 5 minutes, quick intro of what our group is, what we have to offer, why we're worth listening to, and the sea of other things you could be listening to. And then we'll jump into any questions or topics you guys have. So my name is Jim. I founded this Facebook group several years ago. We're up to about 73,000 members, as you can see. We're laser focused in on proven business models, primarily focused around Amazon, especially for new entrepreneurs. Why Amazon? Because that's where about half of all transactions online happen every day in the United States. And it's growing fast. And we know for a fact that there's millions of underserved listings on Amazon any given day. We help you find those and sell against them. That's our basic model that we train. We have hundreds of success stories of people we've interviewed on our podcast. A great one today, guy moved from Vietnam, started a 7-figure business using the proven Amazon course. We got hundreds of those episodes. Dozens of them are very recent. 1,700 tagged posts in our Facebook group of people sharing their results and their success stories. It's a very low risk, very low cost, very low learning curve business model that we teach that has very high odds of success, which is why we teach that as our base model. If you want to see a 20-minute video where I walk you through it, go to silentjimdotcom/intro video, and you can watch that video. It's also posted at the top of this Facebook group. You can go watch that. Feel free to ask any questions. This is a very active, free Facebook group with about somewhere between 70 and 90 moderators and administrators. That includes our content creators, our coaches, our support team. We're all there to help you out if you have any questions about anything that you see here. And like I already mentioned to our friend Brian, we're fine getting the same questions over and over again all day, every day. That's kind of what we do for a living here. I actually read a leadership book not too long ago that said once you're leading at scale, your job is to answer the same questions repeatedly several times a day and make sure everyone understands what the basics are. So that's kind of comes with the territory of being in leadership on a large, growing, active Facebook group that's attracting a lot of attention because, again, of all the success stories that we're producing. We're very proud of that. In the industry, we're proud of our position and what's been achieved in this group among the members and the leaders. We'd love to help you succeed in your business goals as well. So that's the short version of the introduction. If you've never heard me say those things before, hopefully you found value. If you heard me say them 50 times, I apologize, but that's my job, saying the same things over and over again quite a bit, welcoming in the new folks that seem to be constantly streaming in. Let me do a little bit of history, and maybe this will prompt something for you guys. Using the internet has been the only income my family's had for 20 years. My wife homeschooled our kids. We've done that for over 20 years. I've had multiple streams of income using the internet. I do all the models that we teach, and I've either tested them or I am currently doing them. I've got a warehouse here that's about 4 miles from where I'm sitting right now. My mom, my aunt, one of my kids, sometimes 2 or 3 of my kids all work there. It's a very flexible arrangement they have. When they're available, when they're free, they go. There's always something to do. We picked up a new prep client just today. We have a prep center there. We ship all of our Amazon and eBay and Walmart and Facebook Marketplace sales go out of there. I've been selling on eBay since before the year 2000. Like my first eBay sales were 1998, something like that. Started creating content shortly thereafter just to help people out who had questions. And from there, it's grown into a community and a mailing list. We send out about 700,000 emails a month total. Some of that's duplicates, but 700,000 emails and get about 200,000 plus some opening our emails per month. That's a pretty nice email list, but we don't promote a bunch of different random stuff. A lot of people with big email lists promote, flavor of the month random. We're very laser focused for the past 12 years on if you're new to e-commerce, you're new to making money online, Amazon's the place to start. We've helped a lot of people do just that.
So when I am testing a product that is a multi-pack, maybe 6-pack, the trouble really is finding more. Like at my local Walmart, I may only have 6 on the shelf. I can't sample or test another like set of 2, like maybe 2 more sets. So the shelf only has 6, and I need 18 just to test, like to get a 3 units of a particular ASIN.
I got you.
Do you think it's worth it to drive around and try to get more to test? Because I can only test maybe 1 or 2, and of a 6-pack, So it's like, you think it's even worth it to drive around? And, the data, checks out correct, but it just seems like it may not be worth it to test the multi-packs when you can only find 1 set.
Understood. Yeah. Finding enough on the shelf to test 3 6-packs of a multi-pack could be a bit of a challenge, but there's replens available in abundance in
Right.
single and double packs, and
That's
they are
true.
everywhere. So you have to decide. I don't know how far the next closest Walmart or Meijer or Target or any
Right.
regional store. I don't know how much driving you have to do. You have to decide that. But that's where maybe if you are in a really rural area where it's an extreme inconvenience to go to the closest retail locations, you
Mhm.
start doing some online. which means you
Yeah.
probably don't do as much food because expiration dates become an issue. But
Right.
it's just a slower building business model. But there's plenty of people who never go to retail stores. They only shop online, and they've built six-figure a month businesses with this model, with a book of
Right.
500 or 700 profitable replan ASINs. So it can be
Okay.
done. It's just slower. So is it worth
Right.
it? Well, that's a math question, and only you can answer that. I mean, if you're going to spend $12 in gas money to go make $5 on one test ASIN, it may or may not end up working out. No, I'm probably not going to do that. I'm going to find other ways to make really good use of my time. The
Okay.
low hanging fruit is finding as many ASINs as you can that you can easily source as quickly as you can.
Right.
That's what you want to
That-
do. And if you're
Right.
in a rural area, that's probably going to be getting online.
Yeah. I'm about with 15. But the population here is very like 15,000. But I mean, you have your Walmart and maybe stores around. I just didn't think it may not be as resourceful to go and try to
Yeah,
find these 18 more of a
yeah.
ACE.
And when you're testing out, here's an idea for you, Brittany, just a practical idea. When you're testing out and you know that it's going to cost you more the first time you test it to send in a couple units, let's say,
Mhm.
that's still worth it to me to find a good ASIN because I can always go to the store manager. If
Mhm.
you build relationships, especially in small towns, it's easier to do. You go to the Walmart manager and say, "Hey, could you order a couple cases of this for me? How long will that take to come in?" Sure, no problem. On the next order, come by Tuesday. We'll probably put them on the shelf, but come by and grab them, right?
Okay.
So those kind of conversations can really start to pay off. If they're willing to order 5 or 6 of them, they're willing to order 20 or 30 of them to make a customer happy, right? So
Yeah.
just get resourceful, build relationships, and talk to managers, have them place orders for you. And you don't have to say, "Hey, I'm
Okay.
going to buy a case a month" to get their interest. They're used to people all the time coming up to them and saying, "Hey, you guys never have enough of this in stock. Would you order more?" Sure, they'll do that. It's the same kind of request you're asking for. Just you're going to be selling it instead of buying it for yourself. But they don't care.
Okay.
They'll still order it for you. 95% of the managers will accommodate that kind of request.
Perfect.
Yeah,
Thank you.
very good. Yeah, stay creative. That's a good question. We've got a sale coming up. If you're not a proven Amazon course student yet and you kind of want to get a taste for some of our content, we're going to put our proven brand building course on sale for just a few dollars, maybe like $7, $9, something like that. And that is our training on how to build branded bundles. You've heard a lot of success stories lately on our podcast about people building branded bundles, putting a bunch of products in a box. I was talking with someone just the past few days whose business has exploded with branded bundles. Very common, easily sourced stuff that she's buying it in bulk and building these bundles out with a bunch of units in each one, like, several dozen of each different type of item. And they're all small, lightweight, but just killing it, doing great. As fast as she can make them and send them in, they're selling at great margins. So branded bundles, she's sticking her own branded item in there. She hasn't done brand registry yet. We're really pushing her. She needs to, because right now her bundles are pretty easy to duplicate. But if you get into brand registry, you create your own brand, which we can help you with. You get your own branded box. You stick your own unique branded item in the box. We strongly encourage you not to use a refrigerator magnet, or you need something that adds value. But you stick a value add item into that bundle, and suddenly you've got an ASIN that only you can sell, and you're leveraging the power of the brands that are contained in your bundle. It's a very powerful strategy. We're seeing, in some cases, some of our top students are doing hundreds of thousands of dollars a month. I heard $750,000 a couple months ago out of one of our branded bundle students. That's just incredible to me. And it's just a handful of ASINs as well, because you can start to get into selling the same thing over and over again. So he typed out his question: still in initial phases of finding replens. Hasn't sold anything yet. Feels gated. Yeah, we can talk about that. Feels gated on a lot of stuff. You identified some stuff with Keepa, but you're gated. Yeah. Amazon's not approving you to sell national department store brand. Haven't found an item. Sounds like gating. Hope to get enough volume. Amazon might start approving me to sell more categories. A lot of books I could sell to get some volume going. Yes, that would help actually. If you sell 30 to 40 units of anything, Gary, you're going to start seeing those gates open up for you across the board. Ungating is one of the issues that it looks like a brick wall when you're a new seller that will just be a tiny little molehill in the distant past as soon as you've crossed over it. All of us have had to go through that. The rules seem to change from time to time. So those of us who've been doing it a while didn't have quite the same ungating challenge that you have now. But there's several categories where you're going to find the vast majority of brands and ASINs are not gated. And those categories are talked about all the time in the Facebook group. If you go in the Facebook group and just search for the phrase ungated or ungating, those two words, you're going to see multiple conversations where people have talked about how they navigated this. You're going to hear a theme. They started off in one of these categories, typically sports and outdoor, kitchen, bath, household goods, arts and crafts, pet supplies, not pet food, but all other pet supplies, wide open for the most part. So instead of starting off in, say, cosmetics or children's toys or one of the other categories where there tends to be a lot of gating, electronics, stay away from those. A lot of people drift in the grocery, like, oh, that's where all the low hanging fruit is. I'm going to go grocery. Oh, everything's gated. That's gated. This is gated. I'm finding all these great ASINs and they're all gated. And they get frustrated. Well, those categories are going to be a struggle to get through. You're going to have to send in an invoice and it's going to be difficult. No, instead of worrying about all of that, just go to the categories I just mentioned, and those categories are mentioned all the time in our Facebook group. This is one of the questions that we've answered without exaggeration, probably a couple thousand times over the past few years from people saying, hey, I'm gated. What should I do? You need to go to arts and crafts, homewares, household goods, kitchen, bath, arts, crafts, pet supplies, not pet food, sporting goods, outdoor, that sort of thing. You're going to find a bunch of stuff that isn't gated, sell 30 to 40 units, the gates fall open. That's the best way to do it. Books. I love selling books on Amazon. It's fun. There's inventory everywhere, but it's not scalable. You don't want to do it FBA because the long-term storage fees will sneak up on you. Books tend to sit there for a long time. And there's a more exciting way if you find yourself with a bunch of books to sell books, in my opinion. It's a little course. We don't charge much money for it. It's at provenamazoncourse.com/safe book profits. Teaches you how to sell books in bulk to bulk book buyers. That's a better way to sell books, in my opinion, than selling them on Amazon one at a time, paying all those fees. Even you run into a lot of gating on books, like some of the best textbooks that are selling really, really well on Amazon for great profits. Well, you're gated. That publisher is gated, just like any other gated brand that you would try to sell against. But you can sell them to these bulk book buyers and they'll pay you cash for them. So that's provenamazoncourse.com/safe book profits. One of the coaches on our team, her mom, that's all she does. Makes several $100 a month or a week, excuse me, probably about $1,500 a month. Just working part-time, gathering up books, seeing which ones the bulk book buyers want to buy. She sends it off all in one big box and gets paid by PayPal, several $100 a week, doing real well with it. Just a little part-time flexible gig. It's not scalable. You're not going to build a real business that you can sell someday. You're not going to build a team to make it happen at scale, but it is a good way to move some books. But you can also sell a few books along the way on Amazon to get them to know, like, and trust you. Anything you can sell, 30 units, 40 units of any kind of item that you want to get that credibility from Amazon, it's worth doing because then all kinds of great things start happening. Amazon pays you faster. They hold less of your money in reserve. They open up gates to you. So when you're seeing these brands on Amazon and it says, sorry, you're gated for this brand. Would you like to apply to be ungated? And you say, yeah, you click the button. Sure, I'll apply. And it says, congratulations, you're ungated based on your previous sales history. Once they trust you, that's what ungating looks like 95% of the time. You just click a button, you're done. Takes a little work to get there because Amazon doesn't know, like, or trust you yet, but they will soon. That's my answer there. Did the invoice thing and Amazon approved him for the brand, but not the category. No, there's no category. There's no such thing as category approval. There's none of us that are approved for an entire category because in every category, there's going to be brands that have hired a team of lawyers and paid them a bunch of money to make the life miserable of any seller who tries to sell their products online. And as much as Amazon loves and believes in the first sale doctrine, which is the law that says if you buy something from me, you can sell it to whoever you want, right? Amazon loves that rule. It allows tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of people to sell on their platform. As much as we all love that law, there's still brands out there that say, nope, third party sellers, we're going to make your life miserable. We're going to claim that there's an intellectual property issue with the way you worded this, that you're not honoring the customer's warranty deal, or the coloring is off on the photo that you used, or they're just going to make life miserable. So we just say, you know what, leave those brands alone. If push came to shove, you should be able to sell anything you want to anyone you want, and you can at a yard sale. But on Amazon has to play the games with the lawyers on both sides. Interesting story about all of that. Nike actually, at one point, this has been several years ago, and this is a good story. This should make us all feel really good about being resellers. Nike went to Amazon and said, hey, here's the deal. It's you and me. Let's cut out the resellers. There's so many resellers, and there's a few counterfeit products making their way into Amazon as well. So let's just cut all that out. No one can resell Nike products on Amazon. Their lawyers got together with Amazon's lawyers. They shook hands. They made a big deal and said, Nike's going to send you all the inventory directly, and there will be no third-party channel on Amazon at all. Does anyone want to take a stab at how it all fell apart, what happened, and why it didn't work for more than a few months? Does anyone know, or have you ever heard this story? I tell this story from time to time on the podcast, and I love what this story illustrates because it paints a very bright future for those of us who are third-party sellers. It's one of my favorite stories to tell when people say, oh, it's all saturated, or the brands are all locking down their brands and you can't sell anything on Amazon anymore because the brands are all taken over. What's the response there? Does anyone know? Want to take a shot at it? I'll tell you if not, but not getting any hands going up yet. So here's what happened. Let's pretend you love Nike shoes. And I've got certain brand shoes that as I play basketball or I run, and those of us who like to use the same shoes over and over again, you'll notice that. And let's just ask, anyone here use the same shoe over and over again? Maybe you have for years, for whatever sport or whatever activity you're into. Like you have a preferred. Missy's saying, yeah. What is it, Missy? Tell us. You can type it out. What is it? What sport is it? What kind of shoe is it? Because it really helps. I really want to drive this point home, especially if we use this as recorded content. This is a great lesson for us. Yeah. What do you use, Missy?
I use Raydell. It's skates.
Raydell skates.
Yes.
Oh, like roller skates?
Roller skates.
I've seen those. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've never known that's how you pronounced it.
Yeah, Raydell. Yeah. Sorry, I'm sick, so I'm just kind of listening today.
No, it's like the four-wheel skates. Like if you go skating, rent, right? Okay.
Yeah, figure skates for roller skaters.
Gotcha. And
they make them for ice too. Raydell makes the boot.
Is this Missy or Lena?
I'm Missy.
Okay. All right, so that's a great example. Okay, so I got to imagine if you're like me, there's a certain year shoe. Like for me, there was a shoe that Nike made. They stopped making them like 6 years ago. And if I can get my hands on them, I love them. They're a little harder to find. The only place to find them is occasionally on Amazon. Can't find them anywhere else, right? So if there's like certain skate, certain model, it's not that I'm loyal to the brand. I'm loyal to that year's shoe of the brand. You with me? So here's Nike making this big deal with Amazon saying, okay, we just want to sell your stuff here. Well, the reason a brand like Nike even has a third-party sales channel is because their stuff will kind of start to stack up in the dark corners of warehouses, and they don't want to sell last year's stuff. All the orders are already in place. Last year's stuff is now irrelevant, but the consumer still wants it. I still want to get my hands on those shoes. Nike doesn't have them anymore, but the third-party channel does. For example, someone's willing to go to some kind of shoe source, that sells in bulk, and like, I'm going to buy 1,000 pairs of Nikes and take them at a discount. This is all legitimate inventory, legitimately tracked with legitimate invoices, but I'm going to take possession of that and put it for sale on Amazon. There's so much more selection on Amazon when you let the third-party channels pull that inventory from the dark, dusty corners of warehouses around the world and put it for sale on Amazon. So the selection went from being vast when it came to Nike on Amazon to the lawyer shaking hands doing the deal, to the selection went down to, hey, here's what we want you to buy right now. Last year's models, irrelevant. Anything that's old, gone. Anything that's special color, we don't have it. And so people started buying their Nikes on third-party websites. They left. They were going to eBay. They were going to other places. So Nike saw its revenue from Amazon go from really good, because we were using third-party sellers, to really bad. And Nike went running to Amazon and said, turn it off, tear up the agreement, turn the third-party sellers loose again. We'll approve all of them. We want our inventory. Our inventory is stacking up in the dark, dusty corners of warehouses around the world because third-party sellers can't sell it anymore online. We've locked them all down. So it works against the big brands to lock their brand down on Amazon. It works against Nike and it works against the small brands. And eventually they all figure that out. So there's plenty of examples. And this is, again, to remind you, this is the pushback we get sometimes. People say, all the brands are locking out the third-party sellers. They won't let anybody sell their stuff. Eventually it's just going to be brands going direct to Amazon. It's like, no, they're learning their lesson one at a time when they get body slammed by the fact that the third-party sellers, us, we help move a lot of inventory that would have otherwise just sat in a dark, dusty corner and collected dust and been thrown in a dumpster at some point. And no one wins when that happens. We help get stuff from a place of low perceived or actual value to a place of higher perceived or actual value. That's what we do as resellers. We find it, buy it for $2, sell it for 50 to a customer who would have paid 100. That's what we do. Instead of it going in a dumpster, everyone writing it off, and next quarter that retail channel partner buys a whole lot less Nike because they're just not selling as much as they were because we're not helping them sell it to other customers around the world. So hopefully that adds, this is why I'm so bullish the next 5, even 10 plus years, Amazon and selling as a third-party reseller. Brands are waking up to the fact that they're not good enough at moving their own products. Unless it's like, if we sell one product and I sell this one thing and this is all we make, those brands tend to lock down and stay on top of their stuff pretty good. There's not a different model each season. There's only one item. That's what they're going to lock down. But the big brands, the major brands, the recognized brands, that's why you'll see they're, for the most part, wide open to qualified third-party sellers. And you'll just see the vast majority of the things that you try to sell, you're going to get ungated and be able to sell. So that's a little behind the scene lesson that should, if you followed my story there, should give you a lot of confidence in the future of being a reseller on Amazon. We're certainly bullish about it. I've been hearing for 20 years, brands are going to lock down. It's going to get saturated. There's too many people doing this. And then every year the pie just gets bigger and bigger and bigger. I'm very bold in saying right now, there are millions of underserved ASINs on Amazon right now that any of us could get approved to sell against. Underserved ASINs represented by brands that any of us could sell against. Just they're everywhere. It's an abundance. Just matter how much time you have, how much capital you have to go get them. Scale up. We see it happening all day, every day. What's the average net profit percentage for a new seller? Is that one you're talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah. Average net profit. Net profit for the replens model is no different for new sellers as it is for more advanced sellers, really, except you will see as your business grows and you automate and put people in place. For example, I'm thrilled with a 15% net profit business if it's 10 times bigger than it was when it was just me and when I was getting 40% net profit. I'm actually making more money, but I have a system that's running by itself. So as you start to scale, you'll actually see your net profit percentages drop because you've got an automated system that doesn't require your input time, energy to run. But when you first start, you actually, after you get through that initial learning curve, that's when you see some of your best margins, when you're just the one grinding, doing it yourself. And it's not uncommon to see on the low end, 20% net profit. On the high end, 35, we've heard 40 or even 50% net profit, selling between 40% ROI and 300% ROI on any given ASIN. Those ASINs are out there. They're everywhere. And if you look at how quickly you're turning your money over, we had a real estate agent on the guy who sells real estate on our podcast not too long ago. And he said, there's nothing in real estate that comes close to the ROI, your ability to just roll your money over. The challenge with replens is finding enough places to deploy your cash. If you're buying one house for 50 grand and flipping it 6 months later for 120,000, everyone can follow that math to one transaction, couple transactions, cash out. Well, with replens, it's a whole bunch of fast turning. It's almost like he equated it to buying little houses. Like, let's buy little monopoly size houses, pay $2 for it and flip it for $6. And, the next one we're paying $10 for it and flipping it for 18. And it's kind of like real estate. If you break it down, it's kind of like buying several thousand little bitty houses and flipping them for profit. Sometimes you break even, sometimes you make profit, but you're taking safe bets. That's the replens game. He said the margins with replens destroy any margins he's ever seen as an investor, including real estate, which I tend to agree with. There's not many places out there right now where you can go and get very safe 20% net margin up to a 35% net margin, selling items at 40% ROI up to 250, 300% ROI. It's pretty incredible. It's a beautiful business model. We've taught it to a lot of people. And if this was just theory, it might be worth a passing glance and consideration. But the fact we've got hundreds of people who are doing it right now very successfully,